I'll be making an Ikenobo Shoka arrangement, and today I'm going to be using Salix or pussy willow as the main material. And I'm lucky in that I was able to get relatively fresh willow, so it's still pliable. I'll be able to manipulate it. And I'll be using the willow for the three main elements: the sheen, the soy, and the tie. So the sheen will be in the center, the soy will be behind it, and the tie will flow forward. I am making the arrangement facing me, and so I'll turn it to show you the front later. So in this case, what I want to find the sunny side of this branch. And here it is, okay? And I know that because it's darker. The sunny side of a branch will always be darker than the shady side. And so I want the sunny side of this branch to face the soy. So let me determine its length. I think there. I'm gonna split the end so that it's easier to go into the kenzon. So this is going to be about as long as it's going to be. In this case now, I want to create a curve. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go at the halfway point, and I'm going to use my entire palm on both hands and gently manipulate the branch all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to work it back up to the center point. And notice I'm not using a lot of pressure at any single point because I may break the branch, so I'm using my entire palm. That then allows me to create this curve. What was just a straight branch now has a curve to it. I'm going to go to the center again, I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to manipulate the branch in the opposite direction, but not as firmly, so the curve won't be as strong. Okay, so here we go. So notice now I've created this curve and then a slight curve again. This will be my sheen, and this I will insert in the center of the arrangement. Okay, I've cleaned the bottom of the stem so there are no little bumps or catkins which would get in the way and distract from the beautiful line that we've created. Okay. Also, to make it feel balanced and look balanced, try to get the tip of the branch to be right over the insertion point. Okay, so a slight curve. Now, it's going to have a back helper, and the back helper is always shorter than the sheen, maybe by a fistful. So I'm going to cut it about there. And again, I'm going to remove these catkins along the stem so that when I insert it, 3 fingers, which is about 3-4 inches all the way back, show a very clean line. And so now when I insert it here, it'll go here, I need to start bending it. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find the sunny side, make sure it faces the soy, and then I'm going to manipulate it. Okay? And I want to make sure I split the end of the branch to make it easier to insert. Okay? And now I'm going to hold it in place. What I want from the front is this to all look like a single stem. And then it branches out maybe 2/3 of the way up. Okay? I'm now going to insert a front helper for my sheen. And front helpers are a lot shorter than the back helpers in this case, and so a little over half the length of the sheen. Again, I'm going to remove anything that will show in the first 3 or 4 inches of the arrangement when it emerges from the container. Okay. Also, the back helper is on the right side of the sheen. The front helper will be actually on the left side of the sheen. So I am going to get it here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to manipulate it to mimic the curve on the sheen. So this is just the sheen stems inserted. Okay, so it should look like everything is a single stem, and then up here the back helper branches off to the right. In the front helper branches off to the left in terms of the sheen. Okay, so we're going to do the same basic movements for the soy. And with this kind of arrangement and this kind of material, you're constantly readjusting to make sure the stems are all lined up. And you want to be gentle, firm but gentle, because you need the willow to keep its shape that you've given it, but you don't want to do it so hard that you break the stem. So for the soy, I'm going to look for an older stem. And this is larger and older, and I'm going to see if I can remove some of the coverings on the catkins, let's see, and show the silvery catkins. That will give the impression of it being an older branch. So you don't want to remove all of them, otherwise it looks artificial. It'll look like a plastic stem. So I'm just going to remove some of them, leave some of them naturally. The sunny side of the branch is going to face up. The sun is up here. And so let me now trim this. And again, clean the bottom of the stem. And in this case, the soy will actually flow backwards. Okay? And so I'm going to create, like with the other stems, I'm going to create a slight curve in one direction, and then towards the tip, I want it to flow upward. And what I want to do is I'm going to leave a little space between the back helper of the sheen and the soy, because I'll be adding a front helper. So now let me find a back helper. And again, on this one I've already removed the coverings on the catkins so you can see the silvery puffs. And same thing, always cleaning. And I tell my students, it's during these moments when you're trying to clean up the branches that you can start examining them to see which side's the darker side, which side's the lighter side. Let me cut this even more. And similar to the helpers on the sheen, the soy back helper will be long and the soy front helper will be shorter. So this one, we also want it to be shorter than the soy. Okay, and so what I realized is there's another little curve here that I need to straighten out. So again, by examining the branches, it will tell you what needs to go, what direction it needs to flow in, and so let's see. Okay. And then I'm going to have a front helper. And this soy front helper will be a lot shorter than the actual soy. And again, always looking for the sunny side. Remove some of the coverings to give it a sense of age on the catkins. Not all of them. my sensei used to tell me that this was a beginner's arrangement. Although to do it right, if you have some experience, it's a lot easier. But I realized one of the reasons it's a beginner's arrangement is because it begins to show you how to manipulate material. It makes it important to realize the sunny side of a branch, and also ultimately the form of Shoka. So here's with two main elements, the Shin group and the Soy group. Okay. Again, everything should feel like it's a single stem and then branching out. Okay. We're going to do the exact same thing with the Tai group, or what we call the Nejime, which is the front Tai group. Constantly manipulating to make sure everything's lined up. And in this case, I'm going to insert what we call the Tai Shin, or the tall Tai helper. And it's going to sort of flow to the left a little bit. And as I insert it, I'm checking to make sure it's not the same length of any of the other stems. And I realize when I put it in that it's almost the same length as one of the other stems, so I'm cutting it down. In doing that, I need to clean up the bottom again. Now I'm going to insert another helper. And this one will flow to the right. So the Tai Shin, or the tall helper, is on the left side. This will be on the right side of the arrangement. And because the Tai group represents the present, we don't want too many, if any, of the catkins showing. So we still want them covered up. I also, if you notice, selected single stems. So none of these branches have any side branches, and that was intentional. When beginning, it's easier to just have to deal with one single stem as opposed to all these side branches. So now I'm going to look for my tie. Looking for the sunny side here. And this will flow, in my case, to my right. So the soy flows to the left, the tie will flow to my right. And again, I'm going to create a curve as it flows out, and then make sure that the tip goes up. Also making sure, again, that the bottom is completely clean. I'm going to cut this a little shorter. Okay. So here we go. Notice from the side how everything is lined up. There isn't too much space between one stem and the stem next to it. So Shin group, Soy group, Tai group. You should be able to see the tip of each stem when you're standing in front of it by just standing and not having to tilt your head. So in this case, a single material Shoka arrangement. When I teach this lesson, I have my students make this arrangement just with the willow. So they learn about the sunny side, shady side, they learn to clean the base, they learn how to manipulate the material. Once they've finished it and it's corrected, I then allow them, if they wish, to use a flower for the tie group or the nejime. So let me show you how that works. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the tie area, the 3 stems. Okay. And again, always with this material, always fiddling with it to make sure things line up. And in this case, I'm going to use Veronica as my nejime or tie group. And first I'm going to do is I'm going to clean, which means removing these little flowers that are coming from the base of each leaf to clean it up. And when I look at it, I want materials that are not so much sideways, but more front and back, the movement. And so I may remove some of the leaves that are going to one side or the other. Okay, and then we'll just cut it in here. So that's my tall tie helper. And this will be, the one we call is down in the valley, or the low tie helper. And then finally, I'm going to add the tie group. And what I want to do is make sure that flower points up, sort of back into the arrangement. Now to make it look more natural, the flowers look more natural, I'm actually going to use leaves from another stem to give it a little more fullness at the base. Insert it in such a way though that it doesn't look like it's a separate stem. So I'm going to try to make it look like these leaves are part of the tie flower. So I changed that one material Shoka into a two material Shoka with Veronica and Salix. Everything's still lining up.